Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Wednesday. Today we are kicking off lesson 9.1. We just finished chapter 8, which was our introduction chapter to fractions, and we took our test. I'm still waiting on a few of those to come back in, so make sure you're taking pictures of your work and you're uploading it to Google Classroom, email, whatever way that works for you. Just make sure I have an actual visual evidence that you have the test done so I can check how you're doing on it. Okay, here we go. Problem solving, comparing fractions today. Now, comparing fractions means that we're going to be obviously looking at two fractions or three, all right? And we are going to be seeing if one is greater than, less than, or equal to the other. Just like we compared numbers, right? Whole numbers, 3 is greater than 1, right? We can compare fractions as well. It's April 8th, 2020. Okay, so again, yes, I started and my video stopped on me, so I had to restart. Mary and Vincent climbed up a rock wall at the park. Mary climbed 3/4 of the way up the wall, and Vincent climbed 3/8 of the way up the wall. Who climbed higher? Now, right away, there's something that we haven't come across yet. We're comparing two fractions, but yet their denominators are different. So we're trying to see, okay, it's asking who climbed higher. So essentially, which fraction is bigger than the other? 3/4 or 3/8? And we're going to figure that out by using a math tool called fraction strips. So over here it says, what do I need to find? Well, we need to find who climbed higher, Mary or Vincent. We have information already. Part of that is that Mary climbed 3/4 of the way and Vincent climbed 3/8 of the way. And how will I use the information? Well, I will use fraction strips and compare the lengths of the models to find who climbed higher. All right, here we go. So in red, you have one whole. This fraction is one whole. All right, now this is showing 3/4, right? There's 3 pieces. If we added one more, I'm gonna erase this after, we would have a whole. But Mary only climbed 3/4 of the way. So that yellow fraction strip is showing the work that she did. So Mary climbed 3/4 of the way and Vincent climbed 3/8 of the way. You have 3 pieces out of 8 pieces that are shown. And again, if we just continued to draw 8, right? 8 of those little guys would equal one whole. However, he only did 3/8 of it. Now, we have to compare. Looking at this, okay, this is the goal. Think of it that way. This is the goal for, they're climbing up a wall here. So that's the goal, the whole wall. Mary climbed 3/4 of it and Vincent climbed 3/8 of it. Just by looking, is the yellow or the brown fraction strip? Which one is bigger? This one, Mary's. So Mary, there's 3 out of 4 there shown. And over Vincent has he went 3/8. We can visually see that Mary climbed more. So 3/4 is greater than 3/8. The length of the model of the 3/4 model is, we're going to write greater. Than the length of the 3/8 model. So blank climbed higher on the rock wall. That was Mary. All right, everyone. Now in class, I have actual fraction strips that when this lesson was coming, I was planning on giving these to all of you. So this is where we have to get really fancy and creative with remote learning and probably draw our own fraction strips throughout this chapter, but we will get it done. All right, next page. Try another problem. Again, we're breaking down this word problem and organizing it into what do I need to find, the information, how I'll use the information, and then this is for drawing our fraction strips. Here we go. Students at day camp are decorating paper circles for placemats. Tracy finished 3/6 of her placemat. I'm going to circle that. And Kim finished 5/6 of her placemat. Who finished more? Now, we're comparing 3/6 and 5/6, right? Those are the fractions we're comparing. Fractions are so easy to compare when the bottom number, which is called the denominator, is the same. Both of them are 6. Well, this doesn't really look like a 6. Let me fix that. Both of the denominators are 6. And so when that happens, only if the denominators are the same, all you have to do is look at the numerator. And the one that is bigger is bigger. So the numerator 5 is greater than 3. So 5/6 is greater than 3/6. Think of it this way. 6 is how many pieces total you have. If 5 are filled in rather than 3, this one must be greater, right? However, we're going to also draw this because we are going to compare fractions when the denominators are not the same. This problem is simple because they are the same. It won't always be like that. Now, first off, what do I need to find? Well, I need to find who finished more of the placemat. Make sure we have our question mark. What information do I need to use? Well, we have Tracy finished 3/6 of it, and we have Kim finishing 5/6. And how will I use the information? Again, we are going to use fraction strips or fraction circles to model. All right. So again, the denominator is 6. I'm going to draw 2 fraction strips here. They're each going to be broken up into 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3. Yes, I should have spaced that out better. But, okay, this is going to represent Tracy, and I'm going to put a T there, and this is going to represent Kim. Tracy, she finished 3/6, right, of the placemat. So I am going to shade in 3. Now maybe you want to do circles instead, and because a placemat is usually a circle, and you want to do this, 1, 2, right, in, oh, that's terrible, but in do circle in 3. Maybe that's how you want to model. I'm just sticking with fraction strips. Now Kim finished 5 out of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 6. No, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, need another sip of coffee. Clearly can't count right now. Okay, so notice that both of these strips are the same. You want to make sure everything's lined up and organized, which we've been practicing all year, staying organized with our math. And now, just by looking at this, okay, who did more? Kim. Underneath, I'm going to write, Kim finished more. of her placemat. All right. And as I said, the denominators are the same, right? Same total number of pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so honestly, we just have to look at that numerator. When the denominators are the same, we just have to look at the top number and see which one is greater, and that's the answer. However, this is how it's proven visually, drawing it out. All right, number 1 says, how did your model help you solve the problem? Now, this is up to you, okay? Everyone is different here. But for me, the model helped me because I want us to write in complete sentences. We don't want to forget that. That's very important. We always did it in class, so let's do it remotely too. The model helped me because I can clearly see the fractions and which one is greater. Okay. The model helped me because I can clearly see the fractions and which one is greater. Okay. Now, number 2, Tracy and Kim each had a carton of milk with lunch. Tracy drank 5/8 of her milk, and Kim drank 7/8 of her milk. Who drank more? Again, the denominators are the same here, so whatever one has the bigger numerator wins, which is 7/8, right, Kim? However, we could draw this out again. One's fraction strip. Oops. And there's another. So 7 pieces total. 1, 3, 4. Okay. Now, Tracy drank 5/8 of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Kim drank 7/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I needed one more bar. Sorry, guys. Okay. Now, looking at this, I can see that Kim has more filled in. Kim drank more. Kim drank more of her milk. And it asked us to explain. So let's explain. Kim drank more of her milk because we could say Kim has 7 out of 8 of her fraction strip filled in, and Tracy only has 5. I'm going to say parts of her milk, which is shown in my fraction strip. Okay. Kim drank more of her milk because Kim drank 7 out of 8 parts of her milk, which is shown in my fraction strip, and Kim's is clearly greater than Tracy's. Okay. Now we're going on to sharing and showing. At the park, people can climb a rope ladder to its top. Rosa climbed 2/8 of the way up the ladder, and Justin climbed 2/6 of the way up the ladder. Who climbed higher? So we're comparing 2/8 and 2/6. Those are the two fractions that we're comparing. Notice that the denominators are different. first, what are you asked to find? We're asked to find whether Rosa or Justin climbed higher. Now, there's a few ways to do this. One of the ways, and this is my favorite, but this is going ahead actually, is getting the denominators to be the same. So figuring out what you can multiply each one to, that would get you the same. Now 8 and 6 have some numbers in common. If you multiply 8 times 6, you get 48. So you could have 48 as both their denominators. However, that's moving forward and we're not going to do that, but just a sneak peek. So then model and compare the fractions. So let's see here. So this one is broken up into 8 pieces. And this one is broken up into 6 pieces. Now, this one we're shading in 2, and this one we're shading in 2. Okay, I should have made them line up a little bit better. However, what I want you to see is that if you have only 2 out of 8 things filled in compared to 2 out of 6 things filled in, more is filled in a smaller space here than this one, right? So 2/6 is actually bigger. So 2/6 is greater than 2/8. And that means that Justin climbed higher because he climbed 2/6. So we have a lot more smaller pieces and only 2 filled in. Our pieces are bigger here, right? Bigger sizes because they're less. Our spaces between each one is going to be bigger and we have 2 filled in. So actually more space is going to be filled in with the 2/6 than the 2/8. What if Kara also tried the rope ladder and climbed 2/4 of the way up? Who climbed highest? Think about 2/4. The fraction 2/4, everyone, is half, right? Again, if you divide top and bottom by the same number, 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2, right? Say we get the same thing here and we split it right down the middle. And she climbed half. Well, Kara now beat them both. More space is taken up by Kara. So Kara would have climbed the most. Because more of the fraction strip is filled in, right? More space is completed, and you can see that here, meaning that she went higher or climbed more on that rope ladder. Okay. Ted walked two-thirds a mile to his soccer game. So 3/3 would be a mile, right, in this situation, and he walked 2/3 of a mile. So 2 out of 3. So 2/3 of a mile for his soccer game is Ted. Take some notes to the side. And then he walked a third of a mile to his friend's house. Which distance is shorter? Explain how you know. I love these because our denominators are the same. And so we just look at the numerator. 2 is greater. So the longer distance is 2/3, right? And if we drew our fraction strips here for this, oops, our denominators are the same, so again, we're just splitting it into 3 pieces. First, he walked 2/3, and then he walked 1/3. Clearly, 2/3 is bigger than this one. Okay. Last page. Surrey is spreading jam on 8 biscuits for breakfast. And we're going to be using this data chart over here. The table shows the fraction of biscuits spread with each jam flavor. So these are our flavors of jam. I love raspberry jam. And then this is the fraction of the biscuits on which they were spread. Which flavor did Surrey use on the most biscuits? So, what's the question? Oh, I missed it, sorry. Hint, use 8 counters to model the biscuit. So it's asking which flavor did he use most? Love it, all the denominators are the same, 8, 8, and 8. So which one did he use most? 4, is that greater than 1? Yep, and 3, so raspberry. I always used to get the spelling of this word wrong. You don't really hear that P, do you? But yep, raspberry. All right, we're comparing, let me just write it out so it's easier to see. 1/8, 3/8, and 4/8. I just put them in order, by the way. This is half, right? 4 is half of 8. I'm also gonna write equals, oh wait, no, equals 1/2 over there, just so I kind of remember. So number 5, we need to come up with a question. If the answer is strawberry. Well, looking at these, I think the question must have been which flavor has the least fraction of biscuits? Because 1/8, which is the number for strawberry, is the least. So the question must have been which jam flavor did Surrey use the least of? Which is definitely 1/8. All right, number 6. Suppose Surrey had also used plum jam on the biscuits. All right, so now we're coming up with plum jam. She frosted 1/2 of the biscuits with peach jam. So let's take some notes. Peach, she's gonna say 1/2. 1/4 with raspberry. This is why we take notes too. 1/8 with strawberry. And also 1/8 with plum jam. I don't know how I feel about plum jam. Okay. Now it's saying which flavor of jam did Surrey use on most biscuits. So let's look at this for a second. And 1 out of 8, those are tiny little fractions, right? You have 8 little pieces. You have 8 pieces. And 1 of those 8 pieces are used with strawberry and plum. I don't know about those. Raspberry is 1/4. That's definitely bigger than 1/8. But peach is 1/2. Half of them were used with peach. So the answer is definitely peach jam. And you could draw out those fraction strips too. You could draw out 4 of them. I want to try to do this nice and neat. 1 fraction strip. Here's 4 fraction strips. This is going to be peach, I'm just going to label plum, strawberry, and raspberry. All right, so peach is a half. Plum is an eighth. Plum's down here, only 1 out of 8 pieces. Strawberries the same. Strawberries also 1/8. Notice how I'm trying to keep these, all nice and lined up and organized. Strawberries also only 1 out of 8, and raspberries 1 out of 4. So again, if we had the actual fraction strips from class like these, they would always be lined up correctly and organized. It would make this a lot easier. When we're drawing, unless you have a ruler and take like an hour to make all of your fraction strips, it's hard because, you know, you can see this last one isn't perfectly spaced out. But I still can notice that the peach is more than the raspberry, right? A half is used with peach. So a lot more with that one. Okay, number 7. Ms. Gordon has many snack bar recipes. One recipe uses 1/3 cup of oatmeal. So I'm going to take some notes over here. 1/3 of a cup is for oatmeal. 1/4 of a cup of milk. Right? Just like you're baking. You want to know fractions because, you know, I baked cookies the other day and I needed to use 1/4 of, I believe it was like oil in what I was baking. And so you've got to know fractions. Fractions you will use in real life if you want to eat, right? That's for the people who ask me, how are we going to use this in real life? There you go. So you can make yummy things. And a 1/2 cup of flour. Here's your recipe, all what you need, the ingredients. And we're figuring out which ingredient will she use the most of. Well, right off the bat, I know, because I'm looking at thinking 1/2 of flour, 1/4 of milk, and 1/3 of oatmeal. I know it's a 1/2, but because 1/2 is, if you drew that out, is bigger than 1/3 and 1/4. But let's do it. We're going to have 3 fraction strips. I like drawing the box and then putting the fraction strips because then I can make sure they're all going to be equal. So here's a 1/2 of flour. Okay, then we've got milk, which is 1/4. 1/4 for milk. And then our last ingredient is oatmeal, which is put into 1/3. So clearly we can see that 1/2 a cup of flour is more than the other ingredients. So our answer is flour, and we showed all of our work down there. All right, in fact, what's the order, everyone? Flour, the next bigger one is oatmeal, and then milk. All right, number 8. Rick lives 4/6 of a mile from school, and Noah lives 3/6 of a mile from school. So we're comparing these two fractions. It says use the fractions and symbols to show which distance is longer. Again, we have the same denominator, so we just look at the numerator, and 4 is bigger than 3. So we have 4/6 is actually greater than 3/6. And if you think about it, 4 out of 6 is bigger than 3 out of 6. And we can, again, use our fraction strips if you physically want to see it. So it's separated into 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to make it completely even down here. So this is going to be Noah, and this will be Rick. Now Noah lives 3/6. 1, 2, 3, and Rick lives 4/6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. okay? So Rick lives a longer distance, all right? So that is lesson 9.1. We're really starting to understand fractions here. Chapter 8 was kind of that introduction. We learned a lot about fractions, that's for sure. Now we're going to be taking more than one fraction and comparing sometimes 2, 3, or 4 fractions all together to see which one is actually greater. Think about how far you've come. Now we're using fractions with different denominators, and I feel like 2 weeks ago if I put 3/4 and 3/8 next to each other and asked you anything about it, we'd be overwhelmed. But look at now, we're coming along. If this lesson was a little confusing, I had some kids yesterday tell me that they watched the lesson a couple times. That's the nice thing about remote learning, is that if I make a video, you can actually re-watch the video, you can pause it, rewind me, and you can get some extra practice in that. So I'm pretty excited about this, and even next year, you could re-watch these videos to get a refresher on fractions. So looking at the bright side of things, I miss all of you so much, and I hope that you enjoy today. Next week's April break, I have some really cool activities that I'm going to send you, some outdoor challenges and virtual amusement parks that I found. So next week I'll try to figure out some things that are fun for you to do if you need some inspiration on your time off. All right, talk to you soon.